All right, good afternoon. Before I start, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that our interpreter here is not wearing a face covering. We've gotten a lot of questions about that, and so I just wanted to clarify that is because of the lip reading. It's very important, and so that is by necessity, and we appreciate the service that you're providing to our community. I will make my remarks, then we'll hear from the mayor, then I will repeat in Spanish and we'll pass it on to Dr. Shaw and Dr. Purse. As an update today, we've crossed 5,000 cases, reported cases between the city of Houston and the rest of Harris County. So within Harris County, at least 5,000 folks that have tested positive. We are reporting in Harris County outside of the city of Houston since yesterday, 41 new cases and 1 new death. You'll recall yesterday we also had cases reports and deaths. We'll continue to keep you guys updated on this. Look, we are making progress as we've discussed, but they are digging mass graves in New York. They are going still through a very difficult time, and we're doing all that we are doing so that we never get there, and we continue to make progress. If we get cocky, we get sloppy, we get right back to where we started, and all of the sacrifices people have been making have been in vain. So as we see that hospital admissions curve flatten, let's not get complacent. Let's remember that we still have work to do. You guys have flattened that curve of hospital admissions. I shared with you guys yesterday. And we are hoping to be able to get out of this first phase at least very soon. But that is incumbent on that curve truly hitting a peak and actually coming down. And that is in everyone's hands, each one of you guys. We are also doing this so that we can get our economy open and keep it open once we do begin to lift the orders. If we were to open it right now, when those admission rates are not yet down, we would have to close it back up because we wouldn't have enough contact tracers, enough opportunities for folks to do their work and contain the virus, and it would be an issue for the hospitals. But that is all in our hands. That's why we're taking an additional action today and adding another tool to our toolbox. Today I'm signing an order requiring folks who absolutely have to go out in public to wear a face covering. We have to use every tool in the toolbox because if we get complacent, people die, the economy takes longer to recover, and those are the stakes. I'm heartened already by the number of folks who've been following the CDC guideline to wear face coverings. I've seen that, when I see folks outside. And let me explain briefly why. The latest research on this virus tells us that even if you are not symptomatic, you still could carry the virus. And so those particles, when you sneeze, when you cough, or even just close proximity to others, you could end up being a carrier and giving the virus to somebody else. And so face masks protect us against that transmission. So beginning on Monday, this coming Monday, and for the next 30 days, we are asking all residents in Harris County to do the following. Anyone 10 years or older should wear a face covering that covers your nose and mouth. Examples of what you can use: a homemade mask, a scarf, a bandana, handkerchief, whatever covers your nose and mouth. Of course, kids under 10 years of age, we encourage parents to have them use the mask. It's just, we know and we've heard it's difficult to have a kid younger than that age really keep it on, but we encourage folks to do that. The order will make exceptions, of course, for folks with health or mental health conditions that would be exacerbated by wearing a covering. It will make allowances for people exercising alone, for people driving, for people eating. Let me emphasize again, face coverings are not a substitute for social distancing. So we still have to continue to keep that distance from one another. And we are still under a stay home, work safe order. So we should not be out unless absolutely necessary. And if we do this, we will get that curve down to where it needs to be, to where we can actually begin reopening things and do so in a way that is sustainable. We've gotten questions from folks about where they should get a mask. To be clear, we are not asking people to wear a medical mask or an N95 mask. That's why the order refers to face coverings. You'll see I'm wearing a homemade one myself that someone gifted to me. Everyone has materials at home that they can use to make a mask. You could use an old t-shirt perhaps, a handkerchief, a bandana, or a scarf. You don't even have to make anything, just what you have that you can use to cover your nose and face. The idea, your nose and mouth. The idea is just to cover your nose and mouth. And we have instructions on Ready Harris right now on how you can make your own mask with just a t-shirt or a cloth that you have at home if you wish to make your own mask. I know this takes some getting used to, but these are all small yet powerful actions. The fact that we've all taken these actions together throughout our county is what's gotten us to this place. We've saved over 4,500 lives, according to Rice University. And this will continue to make a difference. This will allow us to hopefully get that curve to where it needs to get so we can begin opening our economy very soon and keep it open once we do. Each of you is a force multiplier in this effort. Things are looking good, they're looking up, but we have to keep at it. This is not about winning a game. This is about getting through the entire season, and we know we can do that. Let me close with a call to urge residents to get tested. If you feel you may have the virus, visit Ready Harris or call the number 832-927-7575 on Ready Harris. You will also see the resources for testing through the city of Houston, other counties, and surrounding governmental entities that are providing testing. Getting tested is not something to be scared of. It's a heroic act right now. If you think you have this virus, come see us. Folks who think they've been exposed are welcome. If you're a first responder, you'll be front of the line, and so we need folks to do that. Also, a note, I know folks will be beginning the celebration of Ramadan very soon, and so the same ask as we always have. This is going to be a year in which we'll have to do things differently, and as we celebrate together, and as we practice, as folks practice their faith together, we have to make sure that we only see those that we already live with. This is not the time to be gathering with people who are not in our household. We've made too much progress to backtrack now, and so we'll continue to ask for people's support on that. So let me end it here. We'll hear from Mayor Turner, and then I'll repeat my remarks in Spanish, and we'll hear from Dr. Shaw and Dr. Peirce. Mayor Turner, thank you so much for your leadership and for being here.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you for your leadership, and it's good to be with you again here at TransStar. Just a quick report, the city of Houston is adding 27 new cases, 27 new cases today, and the good news is that we're not adding to the death count, so we will remain at 34. Let me just say this, and I'm sure Dr. Peirce will elaborate. We're saying 27, but again, there may be some backlog in the system, and so the number may exponentially increase once that backlog comes through the system. So just a cautionary note. I don't want to get too comfortable in the numbers. The number that I do want to emphasize, though, is that for the third straight day in a row, we're not adding to the death count. So that number remains at 34. The other good news is that in looking at the reports that we get from the Texas Medical Center, the hospitals, there appear to be more discharges from the hospital than people who are in the hospitals, at least admitting in those being treated for COVID-19. Let me just say that the evidence is clear. Wearing a face covering will help slow the spread of this coronavirus and can save lives. And wearing a face covering protects other people from you because you do not know if you are a carrier and can transmit the virus. You can be asymptomatic feeling great, feeling fine, but it doesn't mean that you're not infectious and that you cannot infect someone else. Most people will not know they are sick and will have no symptoms or only mild to moderate symptoms. But for those who are older and have underlying health issues, the coronavirus can cause severe illness and death. And let me underscore the fact of the 34 people that have died inside the city of Houston, all 34 died with underlying medical conditions. About 2 weeks ago, in fact, I was touring the Houston Food Bank. Was the first time that I put on a face covering, and I began wearing a face covering following the CDC's recommendations to wear one in a public setting. And this is especially so when you're around other people. It's one thing when you're by yourself, but when you're in public gatherings. I also instructed my staff and department directors to wear them while attending in-person meetings or working in the office. And during my daily news briefings, as you all very well know, I have encouraged Houstonians to wear face coverings even at home when they are surrounded by other people. Because the reality is we tell people to social distance, social separation. But if you grow up and if you live in a household like mine, where there were 8 and 9, 10, 11 people in a 2-bedroom house, and 2 bedrooms, a whole lot of people. When you say social distance, that was just a practical impossibility. Quite frankly, when there were 5 and 6 sleeping in the same bedroom, it was impossible to social separate, so to speak. And so in those circumstances, wearing face coverings can be very helpful in dealing and coping with this virus. I also said that with regards to requiring facial coverings, that we wanted to get to the point where we would have a number of facial coverings, masks, you name it, to hand out and distribute. Tomorrow at City Hall, I will announce a plan to provide more than 70,000 face coverings to people in our vulnerable communities. And as Judge Hidalgo said, they don't have to be the fancy ones. We're talking about face coverings in general. The one I'm wearing was made by a grandmother. In fact, she made me several to try to match whatever outfit I am wearing today. I am a brown and a little bit of blue, and so this is a blue face covering. Yesterday I was adorned in black, and I had a black face covering. Tomorrow it may be, who knows, could be a purple day. I don't think I have a purple face covering, but it's all kinds. This one is different from this one here. And if by chance you don't have either one of those, I'll always carry a handkerchief, and that too will work. The notion is to cover your nose and your mouth and to keep from infecting someone else, especially if you're asymptomatic but find yourself infectious. And so tomorrow we will be announcing a plan to distribute a number of them. My daughter, Ashley Tamara Judge, is leading an effort with Lone Star Community College in Northwest Houston, where they're going to be handing out face coverings and sanitizers to other individuals in the community in these vulnerable communities. And many other people will be doing the same. So we can all participate, we can all do something. And one of the reasons why I am encouraging this, but people who use transit, the bus, light rail, you want to protect the drivers, you want to protect the passengers themselves. People need to use transit. It will be very helpful to put on a facial covering. And so those things are critically important. I also want everyone to know that information about cloth face coverings, including do-it-yourself, instructions are on the Houston Emergency site, and that is houstonemergency.org. We have also shared the information on social media, and I know Houstonians have been asked to make many shared sacrifices during the pandemic, and we don't want to stop now. And so let me just say in closing, a lot of sacrifices have been asked by people in our city and our county for the last 40 days. And people have been gracious enough to make many of those sacrifices. And I know people have become, they want this to pass. I know we all want it to pass, but April is a key month. April is a key month. And to the extent, by working together in collaboration, that we can continue to slow the growth of this virus, and in many ways, by working together, blunt it now, then the quicker we can return to some degree of normalcy. So thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mayor Turner. And just to emphasize again, the this is applicable when you are outside your home and with people not in the household. I failed to mention earlier, this is about personal responsibility, but there is a fine associated with the order. And so, law enforcement has been always using the discretion. So far, they've been prioritizing education with all of these orders. Folks have been fantastic, but we did want to make them enforceable. And so I wanted to just make clear that that's in there. I'll repeat my remarks in Spanish very briefly. El día de hoy, estamos reportando ya más de 5,000 casos entre la ciudad y el condado. Entonces, en el condado Harris, más de 5,000 casos. Hoy tenemos 41 casos más que el día de ayer y una muerte adicional. Hemos visto el progreso, hemos hablado del progreso. Hoy día en Nueva York se están excavando preparaciones para entierros masivos. Estamos haciendo todo esto para nunca llegar a ese momento en esta comunidad. Si nos confiamos, simplemente dejamos nuestros esfuerzos a un lado, vamos a regresar a donde comenzó todo esto. Y con eso todos los esfuerzos van a haber sido en vano. Entonces, recuerden que no hemos salido de esto todavía. Estamos aplanando la curva. Todavía las admisiones en los hospitales están bastante altas, cerca de 150 diarias, y eso es demasiado para que nuestros trabajadores puedan aislar a las personas enfermas y contener el virus. Entonces tenemos que llegar a ese pico y bajar la curva. Todavía no estamos ahí, pero lo podremos hacer muy pronto si seguimos tomando estos pasos todos juntos. Podremos abrir la economía, podremos mantenerla abierta poco a poco cuando lo vayamos haciendo, siempre y cuando sigamos con esos pasos. Todo está en nuestras manos. Por eso el día de hoy estoy tomando un paso adicional. Vamos a tomar un paso adicional, otra herramienta que tenemos a nuestra disposición. Hoy estaré firmando una orden requiriendo a las personas que tengan que estar en público el utilizar un cubrebocas, una cobertura facial. Porque si no hacemos esto, si no utilizamos todas nuestras herramientas, la gente seguirá falleciendo, seguirán perdiendo sus vidas. Si no hacemos esto, si no seguimos tomando estos pasos, más tiempo va a tomar regresar a la economía. Y va a ser difícil mantener la economía funcionando cuando empiece a arrancar nuevamente. Entonces, es eso lo que está en la línea. Estoy muy orgullosa de ver a tantas personas, aquellos empleados esenciales, las personas que se han visto afuera en el supermercado, los veo utilizando sus máscaras ya, y eso me alegra. Esta comunidad lo ha hecho increíblemente bien y por eso es que hemos avanzado. Pero debemos utilizar estos cubrebocas. Y déjeme explicar por qué. Aunque se sienta bien, puede usted tener el virus y puede transmitir el virus. Entonces, no queremos contagiar a las personas. Esto se trata de limitar todo contagio hasta donde más sea posible. Ese ha sido guía que hemos recibido del gobierno federal y lo estamos implementando aquí localmente. Empezando este lunes que viene y por los próximos 30 días estamos pidiendo que todos residentes del condado, siempre y cuando estén por fuera, utilicen una cobertura de nariz y boca. Todas personas mayores de 10 años se requiere utilizar estas coberturas. Obviamente, si tienen niños más pequeños, menores de 10 años, pues se le pide que intente que su niño utilice la cobertura del cubrebocas, pero pues no, es difícil con niños más pequeños. Entonces, por eso es opcional a menor de 10 años. Puede utilizar un pañuelo, una bufanda, puede hacer una máscara en casa. Esta orden hará excepción para personas que tengan necesidades de salud o de salud mental que se vean empeoradas por utilizar máscaras. También habrán excepciones para personas haciendo ejercicio solos y estresos solos. Si salen en grupo, no deben salir en grupo, entonces no lo hagan. Y si salen solos a hacer ejercicio, no tienen que utilizar la máscara. Pues si está conduciendo, está comiendo, obviamente no tiene por qué utilizar la máscara. Entonces, realmente, otra vez, para ser muy claro, estas coberturas no son un sustituto del distanciamiento social. Igual tenemos que mantener esa distancia, como lo estamos haciendo hoy día. Y recuerden que seguimos bajo la orden de quedarse en casa. Entonces, por favor, no salgan a menos de que sea necesario o que sean trabajadores esenciales. Vamos muy bien, pero todavía estamos en medio de esto. Todavía no hemos logrado llegar a ese pico de la curva y necesitamos pasar eso para poder reabrir. Todo está en sus manos. Hemos recibido preguntas de personas que quieren saber dónde compran una máscara, dónde consiguen una máscara. Para ser claro, no estamos pidiéndole a la gente que utilice máscaras médicas, N95, nada de eso. Al contrario, estamos pidiendo que no utilicen ese tipo de máscaras, porque esas las necesitan nuestros médicos, nuestros profesionales de salud. Por eso la orden se refiere a coberturas faciales. Entonces todos tenemos en casa los materiales que necesitamos para esto, bien sea el pañuelo, la bufanda, o si quiere hacer su propia máscara, instrucciones en readyharris.org. Puede construirla con una camiseta nomás, una tela que tenga en casa. Entonces visite Ready Harris, ahí está la información. Esta me la hizo alguien a mano en casa, me la han regalado y pues seguiré utilizando estas coberturas. Mire, esto es de acostumbrarse, es incómodo, no es pues algo que nos gusta hacer, pero estos pasos pequeños están moviendo montañas, están haciendo muchísimo y salvando vidas. De acuerdo a la Universidad de Rice, ya hemos salvado más de 4.500 vidas con los pasos que cada uno de ustedes, cada uno de nosotros ha tomado. Entonces, ayúdenos, cada uno de ustedes, su esfuerzo se multiplica porque somos muchos y todos unidos estamos logrando vencer esto. Entonces se ven las cosas mejor, pero tenemos que seguir. Esto no se trata de ganar un juego nomás, sino pasar toda la temporada, todo el torneo. Esto va para largo y tenemos que seguir en la batalla. Déjenme cerrar con recordarle a todos que si creen que puedan tener el virus, deben hacerse la prueba. La prueba no es algo de lo cual estar asustado, estar nervioso, es un servicio público, un acto heroico que hace usted si siente que pueda tener el virus y va y se hace la prueba. Entonces visite readyharris.org para información, las pruebas tanto del condado como de la ciudad y otros condados. Ninguna le preguntará su estatus de ciudadanía, todas son gratis. También puede llamar al 832-927-7575, 832-927-7575. Si no tiene síntomas, no importa. Si siente que pueda tener el virus, es bienvenido. Y si usted es trabajador esencial, está en el frente de la fila. Finalmente, pues explicar que esta orden sí incluye una multa. Es una multa de $1,000. No espero que la policía esté pues realmente utilizando esa multa mucho. Hasta ahora ellos se han enfocado, están utilizando su discreción, se han enfocado en educar a la gente. Todo el mundo lo ha hecho muy bien. Entonces yo confío, estoy muy segura que la comunidad va a poner de su parte como lo han hecho hasta ahora, pero pues tenemos que asegurarnos que sea claro que esto no es una recomendación, sino una orden, entonces por eso incluye esa multa. Y finalmente, si hay personas que celebran el Ramadán, simplemente recordarles a todos que si nos reunimos para celebrar cualquier tipo de evento, este no es el momento de estar con gente que no viva en nuestras casas. Entonces, síganos ayudando, vamos bien, no hemos ganado, pero todos juntos y con este paso vamos a salir adelante. Ahora vamos a escuchar del Dr. Shah, el Dr. Peirce, y después todos nosotros responderemos preguntas. Muchas gracias. Dr. Shah.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mayor. Really appreciate your comments. My name is Dr. Umair Shah. I'm the Executive Director, Harris County Public Health and the Health Authority for Harris County. I really want to just echo the words that you've heard from our elected leaders here with Judge Hidalgo and Mayor Turner, that really at the end of the day, we do recognize that we've done so much as a community. We've made so much progress as a community. Dr. Peirce and I have been tied at the hip for weeks to months here. Really our two health departments really working together with our healthcare entities, doing everything we can to slow this virus down. And I want to thank our public. Everything that you have done to help us be able to do that has worked, and we are very happy about that. That said, we also recognize that as our community continues to move towards opening various sectors up, we do have the concerns that we want to make sure we do not backtrack at all when it comes to what's happening in our healthcare system. As we've talked about the number of cases, we still have testing constraints in the community. The number of cases gives us a breadth of how much transmission is happening, and we know it's imperfect, but we also recognize that hospitalizations gives us the depth and how serious those cases may be, or the infection may be in the community. And that's why as we move forward today, what we want to really work with our community on is what are the kinds of steps that they can take as we move into different phases. And this next phase includes the wearing of the facial cloth facial coverings, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to say this is not in place of, in lieu of, instead of social distancing. This is in addition to. And this gives us the best chance that when I have a facial covering on and I am coughing or I'm sneezing or I'm doing anything, or even if I have no symptoms, because we know that a lot of this disease, unfortunately, is people without symptoms, that you can still transmit to the person in front of you, especially if you're within 6 feet. So this really is an opportunity for, if everyone's wearing those masks, that you protect each other and then you continue to keep that 6 feet social distance. So I want to make sure to make mention of that. I also want to make mention of the fact that we do recognize that this is a challenge in many communities, and I know both the judge and the mayor have spoken about this, and it's absolutely critical that it does not have to be a mask that is, in fact, we don't want it to be a medical grade mask. We don't want it to be a surgical mask. We don't want it to be an N95 mask. Those should be reserved for healthcare providers. This is a facial cloth covering, something that covers your face, covers the nose, the mouth, and it's snug enough that it allows for an opportunity for you not to transmit to others. Absolutely correct that Ramadan is starting for many of our community members, and just as we spoke about with our Jewish community and our Christian community just over the last week or so with Passover and Good Friday and Easter, we want to make sure that our Muslim community is also taking heed of the message that we know this is a time that our community comes together, oftentimes with opening fasts or starting their fasts in the morning. We want to make sure that they do everything possible to again be emotionally, spiritually together, but physically apart. That is an absolute critical message for all of our community members, and we want to certainly recognize that. So the judge mentioned Ramadan, but I just was reminded that today is Earth Day. And I forgot that today is Earth Day because we've been doing so many activities, and there are a lot of disposable gloves and masks and other things that are out there, products that are out there. This is the time to remind our community to take those products and don't throw it on the ground. Don't litter. Don't ruin our community please throw that in a garbage can and appropriately dispose of it if it's got something medical on it, obviously in a hazardous waste, depending on where we are. We want to make sure that we do not ruin the sanctity of our community. And with that, I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing. We're making progress. We want to continue to make that progress. We do not want to go backward. We can only do this with your help. Thank you.
Dr. Person. Thank you, Dr. Shaw, Judge, Mayor Turner. Thank you. One of the things that I would want to get across right now is in terms of the facial coverings and the importance of them. This virus is different from others. We've seen that. The phenomenon of asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic or minimally symptomatic spread is very real. A lot of pain and suffering, if you will. People have given up a lot. People have been out of work. A lot of work has been done already. And so it has benefited because as the mayor pointed out, and we've talked about numbers, probably from my standpoint, the most important number for us to be watching is the hospitalization numbers. Remember back in the beginning, we talked, this is about saving lives. And in order to save lives, we have to make sure that if somebody needs a hospital bed, that there is a hospital bed available for them. And as a community, because of the things that we have done, including wearing facial coverings and social distancing and not gathering in large groups, we have been actually quite successful in that. So the other thing is that we're now, within the city of Houston, we are now 3 days in a row with no additional deaths. And so the overall death count in this area compared to major urban areas across the nation is, per capita, is remarkably low. And that's because of the things that we have been doing. It's not in spite of, it is directly because of. And so Houstonians and folks in Southeast Texas need to be proud of what we've done. But as we move forward and we start talking about, there's talk about have we peaked yet? And I want people to think that, the peak is not an event. It's not an occurrence. It's a phenomenon. And the phenomenon is when all of these things that we're doing as a community are equaling the force of the virus. We saw that this virus can be very forceful. It was in Wuhan, it was in New York, it has been in New Orleans, and if we give it an opportunity, it will be here. So as we move forward, for folks who want to get back to work and all of the other things we want to do, we have to remember the virus is not gone. It is still here. And if we give it an opportunity, it will take it. So measures like the judge's order and the things that we have been done under the leadership of the judge and the mayor have been largely very successful. So as we move forward, we need to keep up with these measures. And facial covering for people who are not ill is incredibly important. We know that Dr. Fauci had estimated that as much as 25 to 50% of the spread is from people with minimal or no symptoms. A recent article, scientific journal article out of China in one community where they went back and they did all the epidemiology, they talked to everyone who got ill. And 79% of those people did not remember being with somebody who was ill. Which means that in that community, when this was a large community, 79% of the spread of the virus came from people who did not have symptoms. And so any one of us could be spreading virus and not knowing it because you spread the virus before you get symptoms. And we know that some folks don't ever develop symptoms. And those folks are able to spread the virus. So the facial coverings are an incredibly important part of what we do. And so the issue of facial coverings not being something that everybody has in their pocket, the mayor tomorrow will be making distributing a large number of those, and we've got other entities that are distributing large numbers of those. But you know what, in your neighborhood, if you know somebody down the street who maybe they don't have the means to make a mask or make something, and you've got a sewing machine at home, why don't you take a crack at it? It's not that hard. There are directions on the websites on how to do it. And I'm the only one up here. I've got a little bit of, I know somebody in social media will point out that I'm the only one up here without a homemade mask on. And so guess what I'm doing tonight? This is not going to happen again because I'm not going to be the one. So I'm going to go home and yes, Dave is going to figure out some way to make a mask for himself. just to prove that it can be done even by somebody my age and my dexterity. So the facial coverings are incredibly important. We're doing the right thing. Don't stop. Keep it up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Percival. Now I'll take questions.
All right, Judge, this first one comes from KPRC. If this is so needed, why wait until Monday, and why not make it effective today? And also, will you prosecute people who ignore the order? You mentioned there's a fine, but can you kind of break down what that means?
Yeah, so, we've been taking all of these steps together, and we've been as successful as we possibly can be. Now, that doesn't mean we're done. That's the message we're saying. We've hit a flattening, not necessarily a peak in our hospital admissions, and that's the indicator we're looking for. I know folks were already moving in this direction of wearing masks, and so we wanted to give them a chance, for folks to catch on with that. We wanted to make the order effective Monday so folks have a chance to get a mask, to make a mask. We're not trying to add stress or add pressure. Right now, folks shouldn't be out very much, unless they're essential. And so really this is a precaution, and it's something that we want to do responsibly and step by step. But look, if you have your mask today, please wear it. We've been wearing it for a while. I think most people who had to be out have been wearing one for a while. So don't wait till Monday. Please help us out. In terms of the penalty, yes. So there is a fine. We had previous orders that we've issued had jail time in them. And that was because if you are asking a business to be closed, what we were getting is they were going to say, well, I'll just pay $2,000 to stay open and continue spreading the virus. And so that's why I had to do that. To my knowledge, we haven't had to use that. For this one, this is about personal responsibility. The biggest, downside in a way, if you don't do it, is that you can spread the virus to other people. You can and will lead to deaths. You've heard these virus spreads. We don't know who has it and who doesn't. And so, we need to each take personal responsibility. As I said, obviously, law enforcement will be using their discretion. Everyone has been encouraged and instructed in the past to focus on educating. That's what they're focusing on. I don't think that people are going to be, it's not my sense that folks are going to just brush this aside. But with all the orders, we want to make clear that this is not a recommendation. It's a requirement. And so that's why we had to make it enforceable by adding a fine.
And this next one is for both you, Judge, and Chief. I don't know if you want to jump in on this one from KPRC as well. What's your response to the police and city council members who feel the mask order goes too far, and has Harris County hit its peak yet?
So in terms of the mask order, there are some folks that have concerns about mental health issues, about physical health issues that stand in the way of them wearing a mask. Of course, this makes allowances for that. The vast majority of the population has been on board and continues to be on board with the steps we're taking, because we are a population of folks who take personal responsibility for ourselves, for our families, and for our community. And so folks will, and the feedback we've gotten, the vast majority of people is this is a step that people understand we need to take. It follows CDC guidance. It is responsible. It is right, as evidenced by the fact that the vast majority of people were already doing it, but we want to make sure that it's clear what the guidance and what the requirements are. In terms of, whether we've hit the peak yet, I showed the charts yesterday, and folks can see this online. Right now, what we've seen, and we look at hospital admissions data, because the case count, we've increased our testing capacity, so it could be a little bit misleading. But if you look at hospital admissions rates, what you see is we saw a big increase, and then we saw a flattening out. And they're getting around 150 new admissions a day for the general population, about half of that or less than that to the intensive care unit. That is still too much. No matter how many resources we throw at it, that is still too much for the workers to be able to do contact tracing and contain all of those new cases every day. And also, if starting from that level, we had the same surge that we had 2 weeks ago, then we would hit our hospital capacity. And so we have got to come down. We got to bring that level down. It's not clear that we've hit that peak yet, but we can. if people do their part, if they wear their mask, if they stay at home. So, it is on all of us. We are making these decisions based on information. I'm making the decision based on that best information that's coming from the experts, from the healthcare workers, from the scientists. They tell us we got to do masks, so we got to do masks.
Well, the Harris County Sheriff's Deputies Organizations and HPOU say they're asking for legal opinion from Attorney General and call this move draconian. They feel they should have been consulted beforehand and say they are already stretched thin, telling officers to use their own discretion, and some officers already saying they won't enforce. What's your response to their concerns?
Yeah, I think, there's all kinds of opinions in the community. There are some folks that'll tell you seatbelts are too draconian. And we still have those. So, there's always going to be a minority voice. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, so folks who disagree are entitled to their opinions. This is not a police state. We've never had folks, posted up outside trying to catch people. This is not about trying to find folks who are not wearing a mask and have them, have to pay a fine. That's not what this is about. This is about laying down the marker as to what we're doing. And each of us is responsible for ourselves. That's what this comes down to. But we needed to make clear that's not a recommendation. It's something that we have to do for the sake of our safety, of our lives, and our economy. Because if we don't do this, we won't see those cases come down. If we're not prepared to wear masks, once we begin lifting the order, that spread is going to come right back. So we're going to be seeing steps like these. Even when we're able to lift the order, we need everyone to understand we're in this for the long haul. This is not something that we can pick apart. This is something that we're going to have to deal with for a while, even if we make it through that peak. Social distancing, additional precautions, because we're not hitting a leveling off because we've hit some sort of herd immunity. The only reason we've leveled off is because we've limited contacts with one another. So we've got to preserve that if we ever want to be able to get the economy back on track.
Chief, do you have a comment regarding the statements made?
I can do it afterwards.
¿Me podría repetir en español a la pregunta sobre esta decisión que algunos consideran autoritaria, el usar mascarillas en espacios públicos?
La decisión se ha tomado basada en la información de las entidades de salud. Sé que hay una minoría de personas que pues no les agrada esta guía, pero realmente es una minoría. También hay una minoría de personas que dicen que no deberían utilizar, por ejemplo, en el carro los seatbelts, los fastenedores de seguridad. Entonces, ya ven, siempre va a haber alguien que no le gusta. Esto lo estamos haciendo por la seguridad del condado. Es la guía del gobierno federal, es la guía de los expertos médicos. Y vamos a tener que seguir tomando estos pasos. Si queremos abrir la economía, vamos a tener que mantener ese distanciamiento social, utilizar máscaras, otro tipo de precauciones, porque el virus no ha llegado a ese aplanamiento porque de repente seamos todos inmunes. Ha llegado ese aplanamiento porque hemos mantenido la distancia los unos a los otros. Entonces, esa distancia, esa separación, habrá que mantenerla. Este es un gran recurso. No se trata de tener a la policía afuera, deteniendo gente, metiendo a todo el mundo en problemas, para nada. Ya hemos hablado muchas veces que este no es un estado policíaco, este es un condado donde todos tomamos responsabilidad personal. Pero hubo que poner la orden para que sea claro que esta no es una recomendación. Y a todos se les ha dicho a la policía y como lo han venido haciendo, no sé de ni una persona que ha sido arrestada todavía en las órdenes, simplemente es que ellos eduquen, pero que sea claro que esto no es una... y para regresar la economía. I will invite the mayor if he wants to make comments. I know the police chief, obviously is the city's chief, so I think just want to make sure everyone's in line.
Look, let me simply say that one thing there are several things that we know, and I think Dr. Peirce and Dr. Shaw have said it very clearly. You can be asymptomatic and still spread this disease, and that's the point that we're trying to cut down on. I know when the earlier order was put forth with regards to businesses, restaurants, bars, clubs, and then there was a question about enforcement. And what we found is that primarily most businesses complied, and that we did not have a major problem. When it came down to the stay home order, work safe order, most people complied because they understood what we were dealing with. This is an unprecedented crisis. You don't know where this virus is without the testing, so most people complied. Now here is another an order that's simply saying the wearing of masks, and quite frankly, a large percentage of people are already doing that. And now we're saying it just needs to be a widespread. So there's no question about it. And I would venture to say that the overwhelming percentage of people will comply. And that's with regards to anything. If you make the request, if you explain it, and I think people understand. And so that's a good thing. There are exceptions within it, and I want to thank the judge, because today at City Council, one of my council members, Councilmember Greg Travis, said that the wearing of facial coverings would exacerbate or accentuate a medical condition of his. He said that at City Council, for those of you who watched it today, and my chief of staff contacted the chief of staff of Judge Hidalgo, and there's a modification made within the order to deal with people who have medical conditions, like Councilmember Greg Travis. It's not intended to be punitive. It's not intended to be overbearing. The intent is to, just like the social distancing and the stay home, and if you're an employee of an essential business, all the basic intent is to put us in a better position in order to save lives, to slow the progression of this virus. And the sacrifices that are being asked are not easy ones. So I start with the vantage point that the overwhelming percent of people will comply. I do want to speak to the Monday requirement, because we have to recognize you just can't put something in and expect people just to fall in line the next day. Education is a critical component. This is not punitive. So education is an essential component. So put in effect today, but in terms of the execution, it starts on Monday. And that's so all of the people in our city, those who are riding the bus, those who are riding light rail, those who are going to the grocery stores, have an opportunity to get what they need in order to comply. And I want to thank the judge for not implementing it tomorrow or Friday, but on Monday. And then lastly, I did make a statement in reference to the city that has accumulated a number of face coverings. At this point, 70,000. The goal is to get more than that. The distribution is not going to take place tomorrow. The press conference is going to be tomorrow at 3 o'clock in reference to our emphasis on vulnerable communities. And then the distribution will take place after that. There will be one distribution site starting tomorrow in Northwest Houston, and that's the one that my daughter, in conjunction with Lone Star Community College and the City of Houston, that will be a smaller distribution that's taking place tomorrow at 11. But nothing is being distributed from City Hall tomorrow. That's the press conference at 3. The council members are going to be given a number of mask face coverings to distribute within their respective city council districts to seniors and people in vulnerable communities, so it can help them. For those who are not like Dr. Purse, who will be able to sew and make his mask. And for those who, we are not gifted with a mask, and I myself, I'm going to try to make a few masks. Time will tell whether or not I'm successful with that. But we're going to do our very best to make sure we assist people in our respective community, our at-risk populations, and others to help provide them with the resources and the things that they need so that they can be in compliance with the order itself. Thank you, Judge.
This next one is both for the judge if the governor orders the opening of sectors, economic or otherwise, that either the city or county deems are not ready to reopen, will you allow these sectors to reopen? And if not, if businesses choose to follow the state's order and not the orders of the city or county, what action would you take?
Yeah, look, the governor and I have been working incredibly well together. This has been just a beautiful example of bipartisanship at all levels. Grateful to our partners at the city, at the state level, all the different cities, the federal level. And so we'll continue to try and stay in close touch and in lockstep as much as we can. This is a question we're asking, if something were to happen that we're just not ready for in Harris County, but I think it's a hypothetical we don't need to cross just now. There's nothing out there that suggests that, or certainly not right now, any order coming down from the state that we're not ready for. But the conversations I've had with the governor very much are about, we're looking at our hospitals admissions. I want to open the economy as much as everyone, but I want to be smart about it. I don't want to open the economy and then have to shut it back down because we open and everybody got the virus, or the case count's going up too fast, and then we got to shut it down. We got to do it at a low level enough that is low enough that we can contact trace and isolate people, that our hospitals can be safe. And we can protect everyone in this community. We were just talking about law enforcement. They have much higher rates of coronavirus. Certainly we've talked about with our sheriffs, deputies and officers at the jail. They're seeing higher rates than many other professions. And so it's about protecting them as well, every single person. But think about those essential workers from law enforcement, all kinds of first responders. The masks, the stay-home order, the trying to be smart about reopening, that is about each member of our first responder community as much as it is about our population at large. Mayor, did you have something to add to that? Yeah.
Okay, this next one is also from Channel 2. It says, last night Channel 2 investigates exposed positions listed with salaries over $2,000 for public information officer when the contract said the county would handle the media. That salary would equal close to $125,000 for 60 days of work for for one public information officer, and $250,000 for both for 60 days. How would you characterize the oversight by your office when looking over the contract?
I think you're talking about the NRG facility, and look, this is the medical shelter is a decision that we made unanimously at Commissioner's Court, that the governor helped us advocate for, a 75% reimbursement from the federal government, that the federal government approved that 75% reimbursement from the Trump administration. So we are very proud to have been able to come up with that insurance policy, so to speak. Most people in this community, every year, they cobble together their funds so they can buy flood insurance and hope they never have to use it. And that's what this NRG medical shelter has been about, is about making sure that if our hospitals see themselves overwhelmed, that we are ready to respond. And so, thankfully, we didn't have to use it in this first round of cases. That doesn't mean that we don't need additional capacity, and so we're exploring right now whether we need to continue with that facility or if there's an alternative for the capacity. All of the clauses and the details in there were reviewed by our county attorney's office, by our purchasing department, by our experts. I can tell y'all it was the best deal we could possibly get for Harris County. It was the last shelter of its kind, because the last medical facility from the federal government went to Dallas, and so this was our very last resort. And I challenge anybody to say that we shouldn't have had that available for our community, because we're not out of the woods yet. It's everybody's work that allowed us not to be overwhelmed, but we could have been overwhelmed. And in that sense, we wouldn't have said, we turned down the very last resource that was available. So we were, we negotiated everything down as best we could. The experts in county government all evaluated that, and so that's what we ended up with. And we're still trying to see, how we can maintain that capacity, whether through that resource or some alternative.
This one's from Telemundo, referencing that same, the mobile hospital was built at the NRG for $60 million project, and do you think it was a smart investment? Can you respond in Spanish as well?
Sí, en español, repito, el proyecto de NRG fue y ha sido un proyecto que pasó unánime en la Corte de Comisionados, También recibimos apoyo del gobernador Abbott para recibir el reembolso del 75% del gobierno federal, lo cual aprobó la administración del presidente Trump. Entonces, esto ha sido un esfuerzo a todo nivel de gobierno que a todos nos ha hecho orgullosos. Es una necesidad, una póliza de seguro. Todos los años, todos nosotros o la mayoría, vemos a ver cómo hacemos para que nos alcance a comprar una póliza de seguro contra inundaciones y cruzamos los dedos esperando que no la tengamos que utilizar. Eso fue este centro médico, es un seguro por si acaso llegábamos a nuestro límite de camas hospitalarias. Gracias a los esfuerzos de todos, no se llegó a ese límite, no significa que no se va a llegar, todavía estamos en medio de esto, no somos inmunes, no hay cura, no hay vacuna. Entonces, podría aún suceder. Y realmente invito a cualquier persona que critique el esfuerzo de proteger a la comunidad y prevenir muertes. En este momento son miles que han muerto solamente en ciertas ciudades y no sabemos si eso jamás nos va a suceder a nosotros. Entonces, ese fue el último centro médico que había en el país. Todos los hospitales federales se fueron a otras ciudades. El último en Texas se fue a Dallas. Entonces, esa era la última opción que teníamos. Todo lo evaluó los expertos del condado, los abogados, los del presupuesto y analizaron que eso era lo mejor que podíamos hacer. Ahorita estamos evaluando si debemos seguir con esto, si hay una alternativa. Y recuerdo que se aprobaron hasta $60 millones, pero no se ha pagado todo eso, solo se han pagado unos 11 y el 75% es reembolsado por el gobierno federal.
Well, this last one is from KHOU. And the Montgomery County judge says he will not require masks in public for his county, adding he does not find a legal basis to issue such order. Do you believe Harris County's measure will withstand any legal challenges, and if so, why?
Yes, this is another step we're taking in the name of public safety. We're doing great of safety, of health, of the economy. We're doing fantastic because of the steps we're taking. And everything we do, we run through first the health professionals. We wouldn't be doing this if the health professionals weren't telling us that this is necessary and this will make a difference. And following that advice, we've saved up to 4,500 or over 4,500 lives. Second, of course, we run it by the lawyers, and our attorneys are confident that this falls within our jurisdiction. You will see the major cities, major counties in Texas have already done this, and we're all in lockstep that these are steps that we need to take. Look, there's always going to be, as I said, the people that say that seatbelts are too much. There are people out there, and so, if there's a few people that think they shouldn't wear masks, they have a valid claim, they have a medical issue, a mental health issue, that's okay, there's allowances for that. But the rest of us, we need to take responsibility for ourselves, for our family, for our community, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it works. It's working. So we got to do it. If we do that, we'll get the economy back on track and we'll do better than other communities. So I do want to thank everyone who is on board making this possible. And I know that folks, they're already abiding by this. And so I so appreciate and want to brag on the people of this county because it's your work that's gotten us to this point and that's going to get us through this crisis. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Dr. Shaw, good to see you. Thank you. Chief. Can we go this way? Hey, Chief. Can we go this way?